Well, Nigeria 2015 is still up here, and we still have Professor Oyebode. And the talk then, you said something, reminded us of Keom, by the way. For those who never met him, we read about him. And for those who never met the Sardana, Balewa, Zeke, Awo, they all read about these people. And you've just, in that small space of time, you've been able to give us one or two quotes. Now, I'm trying to look at the comments from politicians today, sound bites that we can take home and say, aha, this is something weighty. This is something coming from an intelligent mind that we can study on and say, make some form of difference, if you know what I mean. Have we seen enough of that? If you sit before your classroom and you want to speak on today's political class, do you have anything that you can take out and say, this is for my students, and they can learn brilliantly from it?
Well, there was a lot of razzmatazz with politics in the 60s. The politicians of that period were very colorful. They rode big American cars, wore flowing gowns. Okuchi ever came into the parliament with a lot of cloth draped to a young person.
Was that really correct? True?
Oh, yes. You went to Tafawa Balewa Square, where the parliament buildings were, and you saw them coming to parliament. Spectators were applauding, very colorful. And then, by the way, was, as I said, bombastic, American trained and all that. Somebody who has possibly outdone him is the man from Edo State, Obabi Agbon. I think he was on your program a few days ago. I understand he sleeps with two heavy dictionaries, studying the various words and what have you. But in terms of, as I say, color, definitely our contemporary politicians are no match for what we saw in the 60s.
Even at what do you do?
No, I'm talking of the hustings, the way they canvass for votes, and even when Awo, for instance, he wasn't really gifted with oratory, but he had a lot of charisma. Just mention Awo, and people went into frenzy. Okay, I've not seen that here. I've seen now, in my experience, people say power to the people. They don't even say power to the, just say power. It's as if they're completely inebriated by power. But the essence of politics is service to the people. So it would be nicer if the party that says it's power to the people emphasize the people instead of the power. Then the other parties, one talks about change. Change for what? What type of change? We don't have a revolutionary party in Nigeria. The closest I've seen is the National Conscience Party, Martin Sonovo. I enjoyed the way he spoke at some political debate in Abuja. So in terms of charisma, I think the charismatic leaders are yet to emerge. You see, and if you go, you're talking of books, you go to Max Weber, and you're talking of the various stages of political development, the aristocratic leaders, the charismatic leaders, and domination by rules. If you like Max Weber, you will see that Nigeria, we've not reached that level. We are still very much at the level of people, persons, not ideas.
Professor, let me comment here. Is that why we are getting to witness a death in political debates?
Well, you are right, up to a point. People should not be scared of controversy, of selling your ideas. Politics is a battle for the hearts and minds of the people. So if you have something to offer, then you confront your own paradigm with that of your opponent. I've not seen so much of that going on. Because again, let's face it, we are not very ideological in our politics. Everything surrounds the person and maybe its antecedents. Maybe the next level of our political development will be this question of values, this question of what people call ideology. Now it's a choice between 6 and half a dozen, or between Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and hoping that at the election booth, the people will make their choice and live by their choices. Because there's going to be another opportunity 4 years from now. The world will not end tomorrow.
Are you impressed with the manifestos of both top contending parties, the PDP and the APC. Are you impressed with your manifesto so far?
Well, the manifestos reflect the level of political development. The vice presidential candidate for the, I think, APC suggested that the APC was a left of center party. I don't know how left of center, because it sounds to me more like welfarist, social democracy. And the PDP, for instance, to me, is neoconservative. Okay, they want the status quo maintained. So ideologically, you could say that the PDP is right of center. Okay, whereas the APC could be considered left of center. And then in between, you can situate all these 14 parties, I think, are contesting now. But it's not a choice of ideology. That's the point I'm making. If you take Lagos State, for instance, take somebody like, even the adverts of Agbaje, it's almost apologizing for the company he keeps. And he said, please forget who my friends are right now. Look at me, my persona. So he's emphasizing his own personality and his own charisma, rather than
what does
the
this
party.
imply? What does this imply? I'm sorry to interject. What does this imply? Are we getting to a point where individual candidates will be more preferred than having to tag along with a party before being elected into a position?
Yimba, you raised a very important issue, which we confronted at the confab when we were discussing independent candidates. You see, good as independent candidates are, they lack the financial muscle and machinery to deliver on their promises. Parties are aggregation of like-minded persons who want to capture power. If you go in it alone, do you have the resources to match the machine? Say, if you want me to be factual, look at the Bola Tinubu machine. The Bola Tinubu machine is modeled around Richard Daley machine in Chicago. And if you know who Bola Tinubu is, he went to Richard Daley Community College before Chicago State University. He paid his dues under Richard Daley. The Daley machine has dominated Chicago politics for the last 30 years. And that, I think, is what Bola Tinubu wants to replicate in Nigeria. So if you don't have such a political machine, and you are just a very popular independent candidate, you are going to knock your head against the wall.
And politics, how does that play out in Nigeria?
Look, Sule, money settles most things in Nigeria. If you are not rich, you are not likely to be famous. And if you are not famous, you are as good as dead. But if you have money, you have fame, you have power, the world is made for you. So money, look at even the organizational performance of the various parties. A lot of money has gone into it. The posters that you are talking about littering the street, they cost money. You know how much TV stations charge for a minute of political advert? I hear from 800,000 to...
No, it's a lot of community work we're doing also.
No, where you might say community service, but there's no free lunch. My students always say, not even in Freetown. So somebody has to pay the bill.
The prof.
No, somebody has to pay the bill. It's expensive. Running for office, that's the truth. That's why you don't find many academics. They don't have the financial muscle.
Are they also repulsed by how much they have to spend? I mean, people think that it shouldn't be that expensive.
No, facing reality. The reality of the situation is that money talks. If you might have the best ideas in the world, how to canalize those ideas to percolate to the masses becomes a problem. Organization. Look at the streets, the gatherings we have. I hear they are not exactly rent a crowd, but there's something to take away at the end of 500 naira. It makes a difference to some people. You look at the mammoth crowd and imagine how much it will cost to organize them.
Now, I'm sorry to deviate from that topic, but yesterday something happened. We had the two major contenders signing another peace accord. This was coming on the heels of the chairman of the NHRC saying that the first one had broken down. Do you see the second one or this renewal working or having any effect whatsoever?
I saw the whole thing with a sense of déjà vu.
You've said it before.
Yes, we've been on this route before. signed an agreement with Emeka Anyaoku, Kofi Annan, and then John Perry came back slapping our president and saying, you guys play according to the rules, what you signed, otherwise we deny you visas. It's just like telling kids in the kindergarten, behave or no more toffee for you. So that is, shall we say, dead and buried. I think this latest one by Abdul Salam was, let's say, a wake-up call to say, look, we don't want any flashpoints in Nigeria at the end of the exercise. Okay? I think we should thank General Abdul Salam for thinking of such a thing, not for the election, but the morning after. You see, the contestants are supposed to rein in their supporters. That place, what happened in 2011 was despicable.
It shouldn't happen again.
It shouldn't.
Were you able to read, though, the body language? You can have that video just to play back again. When Abdul Salam asked them to actually hug each other, there was a moment, did you notice it?
I did.
A little moment of hesitation.
Hesitation, yeah.
Just, what interpretation would you give to that?
Well, the way I read it was General Buhari has been aggrieved by the personal attacks from the other side. He's been vilified. He's been called better than an illiterate, slightly better than illiterate, brain dead, all sorts of things. So he's taking so many punches. And I don't think the guy is a hypocrite. He felt a little bit constrained to say, look, let's forgive and forget and kiss all over. He was reluctant. If I were in his shoes, I would also be a little bit reluctant.
So it's a human thing.
Oh, yes, he's been so vilified.
But this is after signing a piece of
We'll
code.
continue right now, but I just want our producers to get us so that we'll go back to that particular moment we saw yesterday, the peace accord, perhaps so that we can refresh our minds and see how that played out yesterday. But the thing is, what Professor Oyebode is saying is that, well, we have seen this before. That's why he referred to that as deja vu. But the importance in all of this is that we must abide by such. If this has to mean anything to us as a people or as a nation, and if my producers are set, we can just get to see that renewed pact again.